Wait, what? Okay, no, we got to talk about this. Like, what? I didn't even know it looked like this. When have you ever seen an Ayyubid player build a Rax in the Dark Age? This is wild. All right, folks, so we've got an interesting one here. Elo-wise, pretty respectable. Krisha in the pink is ranked about 200th in the world right now. Leozim has sunk a bit. They're down to 600th, but they've, on average, if you look at all their seasons, been around 300, 400 in the world at the end of season, which is pretty damn good. What I found to be very interesting about this, I thought would be a very intriguing matchup, is the fact that Mongols versus Ayubids heavily leans towards Ayubids. Like, it is so incredibly Ayyubid biased, it's unbelievable. Like, I have rarely ever seen a Mongol player win this matchup, and when they do, I always call out play. So, considering it's rank 200 versus rank 600, and then considering the Civ difference, this should be a pretty close one. Now, it's already wild. We expected an outpost rush attempt with Spearman coming out from one player, but all of a sudden, I wonder, did Krisha see that? Did they actually see the Spearman and think, no? Because this is very odd. Like, typically what you do is the Ayyubids here, you don't build Spearman. You just build an outpost. Because what you've just done, and this is usually why you feel like a womble doing it, you could have built an outpost for 100 wood. Instead, you spent 150 wood on a Rax, and then went on to spend an extra 60 wood. So you could have got 2 outposts for cheaper. And thank you very much for the Prime sub, Trigger. Welcome to Swarm, buddy. Like, that is exactly why Ayyubids don't engage in this, because you don't want Spearmen. Like, if you think about Ayyubids, the unit they build the least, I want you to just, like, close your eyes, think for a second, all the Ayyubid games you've watched of high-level players, out of all the units available to them by the time they're in Castle Age, what bio unit do they build the least? It is Spearmen, right? Like, if someone wants to get really smart at me, they can say Scouts, but it's Spearmen. So this is already a very different type of game to what we used to. I actually think it's quite fun to check these guys out because I was saying, like, you know, we always focus on the top 5 and 10. I think as a community, that's actually bad. It's really bad. Because we're not really seeing anything different. We're kind of seeing the same strategy honed in on, and that's great when you're trying to learn a build order. But if you want that, you go watch a beastie build order, and it'll tell you the perfect way to do the first 10 minutes, right? Like, what you want to see is evolutions, new strategies, clashes, things that are more relatable. Like, I would say for 99% of the people who are going to watch these videos, what you're going to see in this game is going to be more relatable than when you watch me cast a Beastie versus Louis game. Because this is already leading to a lot of question marks and interesting kind of, like, in hindsight and focus points, right? Like, the fact that we have this many Spearmen coming out from Leozim, and it's getting wilder, because he stopped gathering on the gold, and he's gone for Advancement Wing. Dude, this is such a wild build. You do not see Advancement Wing in Feudal Age, or for Feudal Age rather, unless you're talking about water. There is no water play going on. This is the map where you could water play, but they're not. So Leozim is trying to bait Krisha. His idea here is that he will tech up first and then immediately ambush him with a Feudal Age Spearman upgrade, right? And then overwhelm him. He does need to come out to gold for that, though. It takes 35 gold. He's got 5. So he needs to walk 3 villages out to full gather right now. Spin micro. Not on point here from Leozim. This is a huge question mark. I mean, Krisha just microed that much better. And he's still getting better value here. Stabs come in. Oh, okay. Spoke too soon. Krisha, a little bit off the mark, but this is really bad for Leozim. Now, he can just go into archers instead, but then it poses the question, why did we even bother spamming spears like this in the first place? Because unless he can access that gold, he's at a disadvantage here. Looks like Krisha has stopped on the spearman spam. In fact, if I was Krisha right now, I'd be very happy. I think Leozim is overcommitted. He's convinced himself this game is going to be a melee feud, but it's not going to be at all. Right, like Krisha has Silver Tree come behind this. There's likely going to be an archery range drop and then a spam out from there. And that's bad news for the Ayyubids, folks, because this is not a Civ that wants a long feudal. Right, this is the type. So how to describe this? So Abbasid is like that person that goes into the restaurant and they do the menu deal and they get, like, you know, they get the starter, they eat everything. They get the main, they lick the plate clean. They get the dessert, fantastic. Then they order a second cheesecake. Ayyubids is like that person who, because everyone else is doing the menu deal, they do the menu deal as well. And they like eat one little spoon of the like spaghetti bolognese starter, and they're like, oh, don't really like that. Don't ask me why this is bolognese starter. I had this at a restaurant recently. Then they get the main, and they eat like 2 slices of the pizza. And then they get the dessert, and they eat like 1 piece of the cheesecake, and they're like, not really for me. I'll feed it to like my little nephew. They could not be more different in how they're going to be played, right? And the reason I'm highlighting the Abbasid Ayyubid comparison because they're the most obvious similar ones. Like if you talk about Mongols versus Abbasids in Feudal Age, you'd feel really good about Abbasid's chance. But we're talking about Ayyubids. This is not a Civ that can be here at all. And you can see that Leozim fully understands that. He's trying to go for a tech up as quickly as possible. My worry now is if Krisha just sends the troopers, he should be able to block this out. But he needs to be sending them right now. This is a critical blunder by Krisha. What? Okay, there are so many things to dissect here. This is something that should never have been allowed, but Krisha decided to fully halt spin production in its entirety, which allowed Leozim to do the same thing. I also do not like the fact they went archers in the stables before producing the first archers. I'd rather just see more archers coming or stables first. The other issue is, yeah, outposts can now go up. Like, the absolutely comical hilarity of this is that genuinely, if Leozim had just done an outpost like this at the beginning, he'd be winning anyway. Like, what we are seeing is what would happen usually at the highest level of play in the first 2 minutes, happening at the 7-minute mark instead. Outpost up. Leozim may want to consider a second outpost here. Stone gathering would also be beneficial. Like, you know, you could actually just quickly walk a few villages over, gather enough for arrow slits and walk back. But I think instead he's just going to raw dog send it. Food goals being stockpiled up. We should be looking at the growth wing here. Honestly, growth wing is just absurd. It's not a landmark that feels reasonable right now. The 8 villager boom is just insane. Well, Krisha's at least trying to get something himself. Traders are now coming out, so 74 gold each way is not too bad. The worry I have, and this is an example of exactly why Mongols suck in this matchup, is that Ayyubids rush the Castle Age, they come in with the Camel Lancers, and those Camel Lancers can hunt the trade. So you're just exposed, and what makes it worse is you have to be on the map to defend it, because your trade gets no value at home, right? So you can't just condense yourself. You have to play wide. The only way you're going to do that was Keshiks. And if you're doing Keshiks, you have to raw outnumber the Camel Lancers, because otherwise you're just going to lose every day of the week. Remember, it's not just the fact that the Keshiks could probably be an age behind the Ayyubid Camel Lancers in that situation, it's the fact that the Camel Lancers also heavily reduce your damage. Take up on the way, can confirm it is indeed the growth wing coming through. Archers. Keshiks raiding in, and that is exactly why people go for a double outpost build. Leozim, unnecessary losses here. Krisha keeping some semblance of hope alive here, right? Like, gold gathering has not been big for Leozim there. He only has enough in reserve to get a single Camel Lancer out here. In fact, he may have to consider going Golems, which would give Krisha a better opportunity to play against this, because Keshiks aren't terrible up against those Golems. More out of time. Honestly, I'm really impressed by Krisha here. I've never seen this player before. We were looking them up. They're a player from Turkey, ranked 203rd in the world right now. So I'm hoping this is an entirely new player, and not just someone memeing on Harry Potter. Movement speed a little bit off the mark there from Krisha. Another thing to keep in mind is this outpost is not in range for the House of Wisdom, so no fire armor. So should Krisha manage to get a handful of the Keshiks together, he could easily burn this down. Now Leozim still just getting a trickle of gold here or there. Growth wing now complete. Notice that he's still behind though. Dude, this is starting to just feel like an outplay. I mean, this honestly, no offense to Leozim, because he has like proven to be very good at the game, ranked 200, 300 in multiple seasons, but this is skill diff right now. I feel like this game should never have got to this point, but Krisha, honestly, I think he's won this unless Leozim can sneak a miracle, and he's trying to right now. 13 villagers out onto the flank. Flank that has not been scoured right now. Trade count up to 10 for Krisha in the meantime. And this is where Krisha should be getting very suspicious, right? Like, Pink should be like, okay, what's going on here? Because there's no way you're playing this Age without gold. Yes, I know, you're Ayubids, you can play archers, it feels good, but you're against archers plus Keshiks. It's just not a playable comp. So you should be suspicious that something's happening elsewhere. Instead, it looks like Krisha's going to be hanging around in the stables, though. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Like, you know, right now, you should really just be going after the gold veins. And Krisha knows where they all are, right? Yeah, he scouted the big one. He knows about the right side. The biggest mistake, the biggest criticism I give Krisha right now is that they're not looking at any of these targets. They've got a stables, yet they haven't bothered to build a scout. They've lost their Khan. It's understandable why you're not scouting with him. But you should always try to get this info. Even just sending an archer over there would tell you everything right now. And the funniest part, the most baffling part in this game, is if Krisha was scouting the gold, sure, he wouldn't find gold mining here, but he would have found the food. Food that feels like an absolute must right now. I mean, sheep counts down to, what, 4? Camel Lancers are going to charge in. Spimmer now arriving will force Liazim away. And I wouldn't be surprised if we now see yellow add in double archer range behind this, just to start scaling archer mass. Liazim needs to start getting his Camel Lancers out of the base as well. Like, their biggest value point is shutting trade down. That's how they always beat Mongol players like this, right? They use the Mongols' greed against them. But right now, all he's doing is reacting to what he's seeing instead of reacting to what he doesn't know. What he should know, though. Because on a map like this, there's no doubt in your mind, a Mongol player is definitely going for trade. Trade that is now up to 15. Looks like he's going to go hunting. I'm wondering, has Pink set up any outposts yet? It doesn't look like it. 1 or 2 outposts would do wonders here because the Keshiks would be able to gap close. Instead, though, he sends the spears after. Sends the archer Keshiks back towards the enemy base. We have now got Golems on the way. We mentioned this is the way you win, right? But the Keshiks is still a threat point. So he needs to be very careful at detail. The smart thing by Krisha is because they went for Spearmen as well as the Keshiks, they have the optimal counter to Camel Lancers. Because if they had Keshiks only, they'd have to invest more Keshiks to defend, right? So it allows them to be a bit more flexible, a little bit more frugal with where they put their units. This is going to get denied though. Looks like Pink instead is going to dive in. More villagers being sniped out. Camel Lancer's not really reacting to this either. Now, it's interesting that he's going for this dive with 0 Spearmen, because he could easily get punished here. Trade, in the meantime, is being intercepted. Spearmen are finally arriving to push that away, though. Camel Lancer count now in double digits. This is where Liazim should start to just kind of flood the map, right? Like, Krisha is really just trying to keep him at home with these dives because it's the only way he can contest. He doesn't have the mobility. We already talked about this so many times in the past because it really needs to be drilled into people's heads. If you want to know how to beat a Mongol player, make them defend. Mongol players suck at defending. They are the worst civ for defending in the game. That's exactly why Pink is trying to ignore his base. A lot of gold coming in. If they just recalibrate their food situation, they could easily tech up as well. And I am aware of the Dimmu Marine Lord scrims going on. We cannot cast them because they've both got their profiles set to private and the games are unlisted. So, if there's someone the community really want, I'm not the one to take it up with, I'd say. Range armor level 2 coming in from Liazim now. I think Pink needs to send it into castle right now. It's already kind of starting to slip away from him. The trade is at least mostly unscathed, right? He lost a few traders, but he's still up at 16. So, you know, although he's layering his tech up, although he didn't end the game and GG Ayyubid's out, let's look at the positives here. He has good amounts of trade behind him. He's about to have Kurotai, which is like a Castle Age plus. And then on top of that, you're talking about an Ayyubid player who is yet to grab a single relic, despite the fact we're now 15.5 minutes into this game. That is very unusual for Ayyubids. They tend to race towards those relics, but it's really a credit to the way Pink played this. Then again, it could also just be the interesting way that Liazim plays this. When you remember how delayed and different the Feudal Age was in this game, maybe he just does his dervish spam 5 minutes later as well. Yeah, private profiles. God, who would do that? How? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hiding strategies. Okay, the funny part is they're not really hiding strategies because they're both streaming the games. But, I mean, I guess they, exclusive content for them, right? Oh my god, this is turning into Masco. If he just camps here right now, Creature's got problems. Like, wait, what? The rally point as well. Oh my god. This should not be happening, but Ping, remember, military's deceptive here. The entire army is in the enemy base. What a read by Liazim. Gulem's gonna have to back up. Lancers are gonna dive even deeper. The panic is on. Krisha has encountered quite the creature in his path here. He's looking at that trade, but with the Gulems, it's not ideal. You need to be finding the villages here. Archer upgrades are not being queued up, so these Gulems barely getting tickled. Remember, so many squishy targets. As soon as they kill one, they're going to get that Mamluk's bravery. Keshiks might be able to save the day here. They are vetted up at least. But I'm worried about what's happening on the other side of this. The backside is being hit. Eco is being found. So many losses for Pink in this game, and yet Yellow still mostly unscathed at home. First wave of Gulems has been mopped up. Villagers are going to start being targeted down, but all I see here is a situation where Pink doesn't really have eyeballs on the economy. He needs to find it. And he just did. This is huge. Okay, if Krisha pulls the Keshiks away and hunts this right now, he could just starve Leozim. Leozim's food is all over here. In fact, Leozim doesn't even realize there's one Keshik. Going to town on everything. Hello? Kind sir? Hello? Any Red Alert 2 players in the chat? Just hearing the promotion noise. Dun, dun, dun. I'm expecting to see Pips next to his name. Jeanne D'Arc over here. Should be leveling up any moment soon. That was a huge strike back there for Krisha. So Leozim losing a lot of the food workers. Others getting added up. Army is now retreating on the way back to this. Now, he did take a heavy hit at home. Somehow, 18 minutes into this scrappy game, we're now looking at an even Stevens eco count. Archers are going to run face first into the Lancers. I mean, I'm starting to feel like this is reaching that classic Camel Lancers OP point, but it really never should have got here. This is exactly why Ayubids usually dominate this matchup, because Mongols just don't have a great answer. And now, because the Mongol players going into Mass Spearmen, it should be pretty simple for Leozim to just convert over into Archers. But first of all, he needs to get his converter boys himself, because he wants those relics. Mosque drop now finally on the way. Camel Lancers or Camel Raiders? What's better? Camel Lancers. Lancers are much easier to use correctly. Raiders are very situational. Double outpost at least coming up, Leozim guaranteeing that there's some layer of defense here in the future. Unfortunately, the problem is that this many spearmen, these outposts could just get torched down. In fact, Krisha needs to stop chasing right now. The biggest mistake he's making is hunting these lancers and ignoring the outposts. If you just take these out, that's 10 eco kills. Keshiks will just split off looking for the villagers. Kurotai is now on the move up as well. Yeah, Leozim has a big problem here. Remember what we said? The thing that he can't do is he can't be bogged down defending. He needs to be attacking. Because he went for the food out here and it got scouted, he's now stuck defending. Because the moment he walks away is the moment that Krisha is just going to take it all out. I actually think this game's over. The issue is like you're looking at a situation where the Ayyubid player is outnumbered, but then you think, oh, it's deceptive, he's got all this armor. The problem is his food, more than anything else. Not even gold at this stage. The food becomes predictable and your opponent has map control. And it just feels like these Camel Lancers, they should be able to do so much damage. It just never really feels like enough when you're up against Silvertree, right? That 40% quicker production speed really does add up. Trade count has at least been reduced down to 5, but I mean, all I see at the end of the day is a 10 villager lead now for Krisha. Leozim does at least have the Golden Age to offset that somewhat, but the food continues to be the sticking point. Camel Lancers now finding targets over here though, Krisha. We'll lose a few eco. The berry bushes have been cleared up though. And the second deer stack gets spotted. At this point, Leozim basically needs to think about just setting up some farms at home. I don't think you can come out into the map anymore. Like, your numbers don't really match up. Your opponent's got mass spearmen, and you're trying to go camel archers still. I think the biggest issue in this game from Liazim that I really hate is that they never switched archers. You know, you're running out of food, right? Like, do you want to know another reason why so many Ayyubid players go towards archers? It's not just the snowball effect of the Mamluk's bravery. It's not just the fact that they couple lancers really well. It's the fact that these lancers, they spend all your food. So when you're out of food, your choices are what? Go out, risk gathering food in dangerous locations, or switch farms. The alternative is you go full recession about it, and you cut back on your spending. How do you do that? Archers. 30 food, 50 wood. You have plenty of wood at this point in the game. It's food that runs out. I think Liazim's choice to stick on food-heavy units is what's killed him. And there it is. GG gets called. A very, very weird game from the Ayyubid perspective in this one. Not sure it was entirely necessary, but always refreshing to see people try new things. Let me know what you guys think, though. Do you want to see more games like this? You know, do you like actually seeing players that are outside the top 50? I feel like these are the type of games that are going to be a lot more relatable, a lot more comparative for most of the community.